Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, and you will find us. If you love the show, you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big old thank you to all our patrons. You guys are amazing. Big, big, big thank you. We couldn't do it without you. So, we love you guys. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so you can check out all of those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm Andy DiGenova, your Bat host. You can follow me on Facebook. Not Facebook. Well, I guess you can find me on Facebook, but mostly on Twitter or on Instagram. That's what I'm trying to say. You can find me there. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. This episode has been in the works for a little while now. We're finally getting around to it. We are going to review Batman The Long Halloween Part 1. And joining me for that, it's Brendan Lowe. Hey, Brendan.
How are you, my friend?
Excellent, excellent. I mean, this is something we've been trying to make happen since it was released, but with schedules and all that good stuff. But like I said last week with Jamie, it feels even more fitting because it's the first week of September, which is really the kickoff.
Started.
It's the kickoff of spooky season. So I like being able to use this as our kickoff of spooky season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of people in the Real Fans group that are already in the 20s with their scare-a-thon, and it's currently the 4th of September where I am, and the 3rd for you guys, which is even more impressive.
I mean, we have cheaters. Let's be real. We do, and I'm not even being funny. They're cheating. Whatever. I mean, if it makes them feel good, they can cheat. They're not winning anything. But like, you can't watch 20 movies in 3 days. You can't. I'm sorry. What are you doing? That's not how it works. There's each movie is a set amount of time, and there's a set amount of time in every day, and the math doesn't work out. But Y'all do you. This was my one of my first scare-a-thon picks, though, so it was nice we got to count it.
This is my number 2, yeah. No, it's worked out very well. That's what I said the other night. I was like, hey, and we can also count this as part of our scare-a-thon.
Absolutely. So it works perfectly, and it gave everyone a chance to catch up, everyone except Jamie.
Oh, well.
He's just waiting.
I mean, I don't want to use the term cheapskate, but...
I know, but
I'm kidding.
He'd probably admit it. I mean, he's been very vocal about not wanting to pay for half a movie, and I get it, but that they do it because there are suckers like me and you who will pay for half a movie.
Well, I mean, it's half a story,
Yeah.
And the way that movies work these days, like, it's kind of par for the course. Like, I was reading some of the reviews of June this morning, and it's half a movie.
Oh.
It's not the whole thing. Like, it's literally, apparently the title card says June Part 1.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I didn't hear that.
And they haven't shot Part 2, so it's not a guarantee.
No, not another one of those. Oh,
so, yeah, it's out. I mean, this goes for an hour and a half, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. So, for sure. Well, fortunately, they did make both of them, so we did get the finale or the conclusion of it. Anyway, let's do it. Let's kick off spooky season. Let's finally review. And just note to everybody out there, we are reviewing Part 1. So this is Part 1 only. We'll review Part 2 another time. And then once the combined version comes out, which I don't know when that's going to be. I was thinking it was going to be October, but we still haven't heard anything. So I don't know.
Well, I mentioned this to you, I think it was yesterday, just quickly before we dive in. Like, I know you guys just did the Superman movie last week, which came out a year ago, and that was sort of that kicked off this new, it looks like, continuity of the DC animated movies. We are so spoiled at the moment. Like, these animated movies are usually one a quarter. Like, for years, we get 4 movies a year, one every quarter. Mm-hmm. Henry has just turned 4 months old. And, like, there's been 3 movies that have come out since he's been born. So Justice Society, World War II, both parts of The Long Halloween. And then on October 19, Injustice is coming out. That's insane.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're coming really thick and fast.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Weird.
Horrible issue to have. but
I mean, yeah, it's nice, but yeah, you're right. It is. It does feel really quick. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get the combined one this year or not. That was my guess, my educated guess. But I don't know. They might hold off till next Halloween and then pretend it's something brand new. Hope that they get more people to buy it.
and you will.
I mean, I definitely will because I do just want the combined version. But I don't know. I just feel like waiting that long would make it old news at that point.
Potentially. You never know.
Or hear me out. They're waiting to release it with the Batman.
That could be a possibility too.
Because there's of course the murmurs that the Batman will be somewhat based on this, and we know that at least part of that film takes place during Halloween, so maybe
That would make sense.
I don't know, just another thought. So, all right, well, regardless, we are just reviewing part one, guys. So just keep that in mind. We will start spoiler free. So yeah, here we go. Without further ado, let's talk about Batman: The Long Halloween, part one. And I feel like I've shared my spoiler-free thoughts when it first came out, just as part of the conversation. But anyway, this was released about just over 2 months ago, June 22nd. And then, yeah, the second part came out about a month later. This one, let's see here. It was directed by Chris Palmer, written by Tim Sheridan, obviously based on the immortal graphic novel by Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb. And we've got the voice talents here of Jensen Ackles as Batman, Josh Duhamel as Harvey Dent, Naya Rivera in her final performance as Catwoman, Troy Baker as the Joker, Billy Burke as Commissioner Gordon, David Dastmalchian, we love that guy, as Calendar Man, and Jack Quaid from The Boys as Alberto Falcone. So, spoiler-free, Brendan, I want to hear your thoughts.
I will say this new, I would just say like era of DC animated movies that started with the Superman one you guys reviewed last week. I'm really digging them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And this being our introduction to Batman in that world, I'm really digging it. It's no secret, I've said on this show before, but people who might not know, I enjoyed the new 52 run of films that they did. I never really liked the animation style. And it wasn't just the animation was okay, but it was a little bit anime for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just the aesthetic, like some of the costume designs and things, like I never really, like I was never a fan of the Batman costume, the way they drew it for that series. It was Jason O'Mara was the voice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was fine. Like I wouldn't have him in my top 5 Batman voices, but he was fine. But yeah, this new run, I'm really digging it. The aesthetic is great for all of the movies thus far, and honestly, the character design for Batman in this, it's up there. Like it's up there with like Batman the Animated Series for me. Like I love it. I think it's fantastic. Jensen Ackles does such a good job as voicing Batman. When he was announced, I expected something, reminiscent of his Red Hood, but it's not. Like it's very, like if you know it's Jensen Ackles, you can tell it's him, but not as much as when he did Red Hood. But he's definitely doing he's doing a really great voice performance.
Mm-hmm.
And the cast in this movie overall, they just smash it out of the park, each and every one of them. Like they're amazing. Oh god, I haven't got the IMDb up in front of me. The guy who voices Alfred,
Alistair Duncan.
Yes, he also voiced him in the entire run of the Batman animated show,
okay.
and has also done him in I think it was like the mechs versus monsters or whatever, like that run. He was also Alfred in those. He's one of my favorite Alfred voices of all time too. So it's great to have him back. And it looks like for an ongoing continuity as well. In terms of this movie specifically, it's great. It's really, really good. I I haven't read The Long Halloween properly for probably, I'd say, a good 6 or 7 years. Like I read the occasional chapter when we were doing the long review for episodes that I was on, but I haven't read it front to back for, yeah, probably around 7 years now. So I know the story, but I because I haven't read it for so long, I don't remember the intricate details and the ins and outs. So it was kind of cool watching this, having not read the comic for so long, because the mystery sucked me in. And then, of course, there are some tweaks and changes. The main one coming at the end of this particular film, which I won't spoil now, but that was a bit of a change. But we've seen in the past that with these, I say, direct adaptations, they do take some liberties, which I think works really, really well. I think I've said before, like, I love the graphic novel of Year One, and they pretty much did a panel for panel, panel to screen, for the animated movie, that they did in, like, it was 2011. And
it was a long time ago.
Like, the movie's kind of boring. It's definitely not my favorite, and I love that comic. So
It's because that comic
odd.
is also boring.
But yeah, I like the little tweaks that they do. It keeps people like us who know the stories guessing and on our toes, and it gives us what we know, but also gives it that with just a little bit of difference, which I really like. And I don't think they've really ever screwed the pooch on doing that. Yeah. So I mean, that overall, I really, really enjoy it. It's great. And if this is what this new Batman is going to be like in this new continuity, sign me up. I'm all in.
All right. I mean, I think that we're mostly on the same page. I really, 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 really liked it. Or I really like it. There's something holding me back from saying love, and we'll talk about it. But I'm so close to loving it because there's so much to love about it. I agree with you about the voice cast. I think that they're terrific. I agree Jensen Ackles is doing great work as Batman. Josh Duhamel's great as Harvey Dent.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, like really overall, the voice cast is doing terrific. I agree with you that I love the art style. I love this Gotham. I love this Batman. This version of Gotham City and this version of the Batman mythology, the Batcave and the Batmobile, like all of it,
yep.
I really, really like. And then, the story is great. And of course, they're using one of the very best Batman stories of all time as their base, so that helps. But you're right, there's just enough new in it to keep us on our toes and to keep us guessing and to keep us engaged. And I think they've done a really nice job of accentuating parts of the story that maybe went a little underplayed in the book, and streamlining it as they have to because it's such a long book. But it's really, really good. I do love how it really leans into the holidays, of course. The first big chunk of the movie, maybe not quite half, but close, it's very Halloween, and of course that was great. Last night rewatching it as we're getting into spooky season, I'm like, ooh, Batman Halloween, it makes me happy. So I really like that part of it. But yeah, I think the animation is great. There's a lot to love about this one. I thought that it was really good. And here's something. I still haven't watched part 2.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Okay.
So
I only watched it for the first time last week, I think it was. Is that some thunder again?
That is thunder. Yep, absolutely.
Spooky season indeed.
Central Florida thunderstorms.
But yeah, I only watched it last week, which is the longest between when a movie was released to me actually watching it. But hey, fatherhood, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm. That's weird, because I heard that like fatherhood is easy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like babies, aren't they pretty self-sufficient? You just leave a box of Oreos in their crib and they poop their pants and you check in on them on occasion, right?
Sure, yep.
Okay, great. Because I had been waiting, because I wanted to watch part 1 before I watched part 2. And then we knew that we wanted to do this episode. And so I rewatched part 1 last night. So I have not watched part 2. But that's what's kind of fun is I'm only reviewing this as part one. I can't speak to how it's resolved. I can't speak to the second half. I can't speak to what happens. I have no idea. So I'm still in the dark. Yeah, so you be careful. I'll probably watch part two this weekend now. But yeah, so I can only speak to what I think works in this one, because I also think that the success of the overall movie is really determined by how they decide to resolve certain things that are left hanging in the first half. But for the first half, it's really good.
Yep.
But I have one big complaint.
Okay.
And I have one tiny little nerdy nitpick. And other than that, I really like it.
Okay.
So I can talk about my big complaint now because it's not spoilery. And it was something I didn't even, I wasn't even able to like figure out until my second viewing. So my first viewing, I watched it. I thought it was great, but there was something about it that was just throwing me off, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, man, there was just something about it. There was just something weird that I couldn't, that wasn't working for me, and I didn't know what it was. Then I watched it last night. And also, when the first half came out, I saw reactions online, a lot of our friends and fellow DC fans on Twitter and whatnot. And most people seem to really like it, but the complaint I saw most often was that it's very slow or a little boring. Mm-hmm. I heard people say that. And when I watched it the first time, I was like, well, it does take its time. But for me, I don't think that's a bad thing. It was a nice surprise, because I thought, because of how much material they're trying to cram into one movie, I thought it was going to be a lot more quick and at like a breakneck speed, because they have so much they need to fit in, that I thought the movie maybe would be cut too tight and it wouldn't have room to breathe. And it's just the opposite. The movie takes its time with the character moments and the conversations and everything. And I actually really liked that about it. But
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's actually a really cool thing. But I understood why certain people said, oh, it felt a little slow and a little boring. And then I watched it last night and I realized what it was. This movie tries very hard not to use any music.
Yes, because I was literally, when you were saying that, I was about to say it's a very quiet movie. And then I was just like, I reckon he's going to mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very quiet, very stark.
They use very little music. And when they do, it's barely there. Mm-hmm. And it's really weird. So there are like scenes without dialogue or without music. And it's just like sound effects. Like the scene where Batman is chasing Catwoman. And again, that's not really a spoiler. He chases Catwoman. Sorry, guys. But there's no music. It's just like, footsteps, and it's rain, and it's and because there's no music, it's just a really weird vibe. And I think sometimes it works, but sometimes I think it works against it, because like for some of those action scenes, they did it without music, and I'm like, no, man, this is where you pump up the music, you pump up the drama, like, and again, and even when there is music, not only is it understated, the music itself is very simple. It's like one note. Like there's not a melodic score. It's a very minimalist score. And then even when it is there, it's barely there. And I think that, in my opinion, it works against the movie and it makes the movie feel slower than it is, because you lose so much momentum when there's no music.
Yeah, like the final scene of the movie is very quiet.
Yeah.
And when the end credit music kicks in, it's a little jarring, for lack of a better term, because you're like, oh, like, because it really feels like it kicks in.
Yeah.
Because it comes through, like, there's no fade or anything. It's just bang, music.
Well, and you just spent 90 minutes with very little music, barely any.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And again, I just feel like you could have used a score to really sell the mood of Halloween and Christmas and New Year's. Like you could really use it for those things. But again, for the action scenes, you help amp it up, or for dramatic scenes. Like it's just a very weird and obviously deliberate choice to use almost none.
Choice indeed, yeah.
It's so strange to me. But yeah, like watching it last night and realizing what was happening, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and that it became a distraction almost. Where I was like, man, like, is there any score to this thing?
Yeah, that's because you're a score guy, because you get all the animated scores too, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting. It'll be like a sound effects album.
Yeah, right. So that's my big complaint. I think for whatever reason they made that choice, but I don't necessarily think it was the right choice. But for the rest of the movie, I thought it was great. And then here's my tiny little nitpick, and it's so nerdy, but you'll appreciate it, I think. Because, this movie, like the book, it starts at Halloween, we get Thanksgiving, we get Christmas, we get New Year's. At Thanksgiving, there's a whole scene set outside during Thanksgiving, and all the trees are full of green leaves.
Okay.
And it drove me nuts. I was like, it is Thanksgiving in Gotham. Gotham is essentially New York City. You could think of it as Chicago, but either way, whichever one you want to think it is, there would not be green leaves on those trees. It's Thanksgiving, damn it.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, it drove me crazy. So, and what's funny is during the Halloween section, they did a very good job of like, it looks like Halloween in the background.
Well,
and with Christmas, same thing.
I'll go so far as to say with Halloween, I don't know if you agree with me here or not. I don't know if this was intentional or if it was just the overall vibe of the movie. But the scenes in the suburbs, like Dent and Gilda's house and everything, it looks very Haddonfield.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like, very Haddonfield. And I was like watching it, I said to Jess, because she hasn't seen the Halloween movies because she's a scaredy cat, and I'm just like, I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but this is giving me like Halloween vibes, as in the movie franchise Halloween, because it really looks like the streets of Haddonfield.
Yeah. But like, I love that, because it had that Halloween feel to it. So that was my little nitpick. I know it's not a big deal, but again, I'm like, come on, if your whole movie's about the holidays, your job is to hone in on the feeling of those holidays. And so I just thought that was a very odd miss for Thanksgiving.
Well, it got by me, but we're back to front here.
You also don't really have Thanksgiving.
We don't, but also if we did, it would be scorching hot. So
yeah. So that, again, that's a nitpick, whatever. So those, aside from those two things, I really like this one. Again, like from the moment the movie starts and you see this Gotham, this version, I think it's beautiful. It's so cool. And it is it's like a very pure Batman movie, that just incorporates so much of who the character is. So, and I like the story they tell, and I don't feel like it's a big part of the book, but it was sort of the arc that they decide to create for Batman here. I thought it was a cool choice, and really, I think, works well with this story.
Something, again, this might be something from the comic that is just escaped my memory, but how far into his career is Batman in the comic? Do you remember? It's early days, isn't it?
It's still early days because, I mean, the whole Harvey Dent is still Harvey Dent. So, yes, it's the early days of Batman, but he's still established enough.
Yeah, because this feels very, I don't want to say origin story, but yeah, like some of the dialogue and things in this it's very much potentially a year one-ish style Batman.
He's new-ish. I mean, he's not brand new because a lot of his rogues gallery are already in Arkham.
But, the whole, I don't know if this would even count as a spoiler, but just the whole, I didn't realize Batman would have to be a detective.
Yeah, right.
Things like that. It's like, yeah, okay, you're still pretty fresh, but it doesn't delve too far into, an origin or backstory for Batman. It hits the ground running, but you can tell it's still very new at the job. Yeah,
definitely. No, it is. It's an early-ish Batman without being a brand new Batman.
Yeah, which is good because I think we're going to get a lot of that coming up.
Yeah. But there you go. I mean, we both really, really like this one, right?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. And so there's no spoilers or very minor spoilers, but I do want us to speak freely. So if you don't want to get spoiled, if you haven't watched it yet, watch it. Definitely worth your time. Really good. But But yeah, we're going to speak freely. And there are, as Brendan said, some things that are slightly different from the book. So maybe you've read the book but not seen the movie. Not everything's going to be exactly the same, I think, for the better. But yeah, so you've been warned. The spoiler warning is in effect in 3, 2, 1. All right.
I'm not sure where you want to dive in.
Well, the first thing I want to say, and again, I don't think it's all that spoilery, but I have seen, and I think we might have even gotten an email about it relatively recently, where someone was like, "Oh, I just wish they had tried to emulate Tim Sale's artwork." And I do understand that as a fan of someone who loves the book, like why you would want to try and see something that's a little more faithful to the Sale style. But Tim Sale has such a unique style, and it's so dramatic and it's so different. I think it would have been a real challenge. So personally, I really like the style they chose. I like you said, I love how Batman looks. I love how Catwoman looks. I love how Grundy looks. I love how the Joker looks. I think this is a great looking Joker.
Yeah.
So like, I love the way the designs worked out in this version. And I also thought it was very cool that they used the Tim Sale artwork for the opening credits as like a really cool nod to the book.
The opening credits actually kind of also made me think of Batman '89 in the way that like it's a chalk outline, which you think is going to be a body, but then it morphs into the bat symbol.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool.
Yeah, definitely. So it was nice that they incorporated Sale's artwork, but again, I also don't blame them for doing their own thing with the animation style. And for me, and it sounds like for you as well, it really works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't do it for Hush. Because it was part of the continuity. Dark Knight Returns they did to a degree, but again, it's not a direct translation.
Yeah, like Dark Knight Returns is closer. That one they sort of found a middle ground between Frank Miller and the animation, and sort of found this
it was
one
a standalone too.
Yeah, this one they didn't even try. They were like, no, we're just gonna do our own thing. And again, for very for the diehard fans, I get why they would have liked to see something different, but for me, I still really liked what they did.
Yeah, I don't know if his art would translate to animation all that well.
Well, it would have been very hard, and at the same time, if you go back to the long review, I don't love Tim Sale's art.
You know what? I'm glad. I can't remember you saying that, but I'm glad you just said it because I'm not that big a fan either.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's sacrilegious to say it or not, but I don't like his Batman.
Yeah,
don't.
It's too extreme. It's too weird. It's too out there. So I appreciate it well enough for what it is, and especially in the Long Halloween book. But as far as animation, I like this style better.
Yeah. So do I. I think it's great.
Yeah. So yeah, I did want to address that because it was something that the fans have been talking about. I'll also say one of the coolest things about the book is those moments where after every murder, Holiday leaves that icon, the Holiday icon next to the body. And so, for the very first one, for Halloween, it's the jack-o'-lantern. For Thanksgiving, it's the cornucopia. For Christmas, it's the snow globe. And then for New Year's, it's the champagne glass. I love that. And that was always such a cool moment in the book. And it was usually, I think, the last panel of each book or of each episode, issue, whatever. Yeah. And I loved that this movie took a moment and made that the title card, every time that would happen, it would slow down and it would focus in on it. And then the title of the holiday would come up. I thought that was actually really well done.
Yeah. And all of them are quite haunting. This movie overall, and I think it is because of that lack of score, it is quite haunting.
Right. And that's why I said sometimes the lack of score works in its favor because of that, is it does feel a little uncomfortable or a little eerie and everything. I just think that they went too far with it. But yeah, you're right. The whole thing has this very, and it is, it's a detective noir story with Batman and Gotham, and they really lean into that. And I think that's a lot of fun. I also think that I sort of mentioned it briefly in non-spoilers, but there are things about the book that this movie I think very smartly accentuates. So I swear I read the book 3 times before I realized they were baby bottle nipples used as a silencer.
Yep.
Maybe that makes me an idiot, but I think Jamie had to go, no, he uses the nipples as a silencer, and I was like, oh, totally missed that. Sorry. So here they make sure we have that information. It's part of the mystery. So I thought that was really well done. And also the relationship between Harvey and Gilda. They dedicate a lot more time to that because of how important that is. And again, I don't know how that resolves. I know how it resolves in the book. I don't know how it resolves in the movie, but it's still a very important part of the story, especially because of Harvey. And so it feels like the movie is a little more interested in Harvey and Gilda than I think the book was. Because I feel like when I read the book, the Gilda stuff felt not unimportant, but it just didn't feel as important, where I feel like it smartly is like, no, this is a very important part of the story too. So there were things like that I think that the writing, and I'll give credit to Tim Sheridan, where he knew what to focus on, because I think that was really important.
Yeah. Geez, Josh Jamal does a great performance as Harvey.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Really. Wait till you hear the Two-Face voice. But yeah, he's really, really good.
Wait,
like that.
Did you just spoil part 2? Does he turn into Two-Face?
Oh my God.
You
It's been a while since you've had one of them on the episode.
Yeah, for old time's sake.
Like there's the one part, I don't know, that just stands out to me is when he escapes from the hospital and he's standing out at the front of Falcone's building, and Gordon's trying to get him to come with him to go back to his place to have Thanksgiving dinner.
That's the green tree scene.
Yeah.
That whole conversation is they're surrounded by green trees.
But the way that when Gordon asks him to come back with him, the way he does this, no, I like it out here. It's just, there's something about, I really don't know what it is, but there's just something about that stuck out to me that I was like, man, you were really giving this a hell of a performance.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
I said it before, all the voice casts, they are I can't think of a better, in terms of these DC movies, a better cast film.
Mm-hmm.
They are all so good. And David Desmalchian as Calendar Man, my God.
Awesome. Yeah, so
Talk
cool, so creepy.
And chilling.
Yeah. Well, and to speak to Harvey, I love the characterization of Harvey in this movie too, because there's something off about him from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So he keeps you guessing throughout, and the fact that they acknowledge that he's a suspect. And that it is that great scene with Calendar Man where he's like, well, why isn't Harvey Dent here? Oh, you haven't told him because you think it could be him. That was really great. So I do love that this sort of the darkness bubbling under the surface of Harvey Dent as we go. And there's just enough hints of it throughout that I thought was really well done. Like when they're looking at the money and he goes, if we were any other kinds of men, and Batman just goes, we're not.
Yeah, and also how he was denied a gun license.
Yeah. So lots of things like that I thought was really great. Yeah, I think that the Harvey stuff in this is really strong. And you're right, when he escapes from the hospital, it's like, man, he's having a time.
And you can see that they do a close-up, it's almost foreshadowing, of half of his face.
Well, they do a fake-out. I think it's an intentional fake out. Is after the explosion, we only see one side of his face in the hospital, and then we only see one side of his face when he's escaped. And then when he turns, it's like they wanted us to expect him to be Two-Face already, and then when he turns, it's like, oh no, his whole face is still there.
Yeah, but you can see when they do that close up of the one half of his face. Again, when Jim's trying to get him to come back with him, you can see sort of his pupil, I guess, sort of dilate, or just the expression change, where he kind of snaps out of, for lack of a better term, the big bad half. Not
right.
that they call it that in the movie or anything, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And he sort of chills, and he sort of almost has that, what am I doing here? But it was, the characterization's really, really good.
Yeah, it's great. And then, again, to go back to what we were talking about a little bit before, is I do think it was a very cool idea. And again, maybe it's in the book and I've just forgotten. It's certainly possible. But to make Batman's story be about him running up against the first case that he couldn't solve by beating them up or capturing them or throwing them in Arkham, a case where he's got to be a detective. And he's like, crap, I didn't plan for that. I didn't know that was what I was going to have to do. I think that's a really interesting angle to give him something to learn. So yeah, I think that was really clever, and I liked that throughout because he even said, I thought I'd catch some bad guys and put them in jail and make Gotham a better place. I didn't know I was going to have to be a detective.
Yeah, and like you're talking about the Harvey being a suspect thing, that scene in the Batcave with Alfred, how he's got all the mugshots of all the people that are suspects on the screen. They're sort of going through them individually, but the fifth one is just a silhouette.
Yeah,
and even Alfred's like, why do you not have the image there? And Bruce is like, because I don't like it.
Yeah,
but Alfred's like, but it fits, doesn't it? Like it's. Yeah, like even Bruce doesn't want to acknowledge the possibility that it could be Harvey.
Right. Well, and it is funny because when that happened, I had forgotten that Harvey was a suspect at that point because I know the story, I know the book. So it like didn't, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. If I had never seen this, I'd probably go, oh yeah, it does fit because yeah, he's been trying to take down Falcone and he can't do it the right way, so maybe he's doing it the wrong way. So yeah, I had to put myself back into that mindset of not knowing where it was going. And again, I think I know where it's going. But this movie, and this is the big spoiler, this movie really seems to change where it's going in the end.
Yes.
Because
Alberto.
Yeah, because when he's got the suspects up there, he doesn't even have Alberto as a suspect. And again, maybe it's just because I know the story already, but like every scene with Alberto, I was like, oh my God, there just needs to be a big neon sign behind him going, this is it. He's the guy. I was like, God, they're not hiding it at all. And then it is a nice moment where like Batman goes, oh, of course. And so it is funny because I think it's the same moment where the audience probably would do the same of being like, obviously it's the disgruntled son, like it's gotta be. And it's when Batman figures it out too. And so I think that to the movie's credit, it's really smart that we think, oh, it must be that guy. And now they're going to show us it's not. And so I don't remember it being as final as it is. Last night reminded me of how final they make it.
Oh yeah, you see him get torn to pieces.
Yeah. So the scene is in the book of him on the boat getting killed, falling overboard. But in the book, he doesn't die. It was all planned.
Yeah.
Here, oh no, like they make it abundantly clear he is dead. And I was like, oh shoot, I either missed, I don't think I missed it the first time, I just think I didn't remember it. But yeah, like in no uncertain terms, he went the way of Black Mask and Birds of Prey. Like he's in a million little pieces. So so they're not going the Alberto route, which I think is really fun as a mystery because just when you think you got it figured out, the movie goes, no, you don't. So again, not having watched part 2, I think I know where it's going. I think that they're going to double down on the ending of the book as opposed to splitting the ending. But I'll let you know once I watch it. So that's where I assume it's going, but I do like that, again, that little red herring, if you will. I guess, in the movie it's a red herring, in the book it is not. But here it's a red herring of oh, we all think we know, and the movie goes, nope, that's not it.
Yeah. I will say too, just talking about Alberto, that scene with he and Falcone in the kitchen when Falcone's cooking the dinner, man, that was really intense. The way, he sort of just quietly slips that he sent flowers to the dents.
Yeah.
To take suspicion off of them. And the way Falcone just loses his shit. And the way he attacks Alberto it's really hard. Like, it's very, very confronting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just, he has no time for this son. At all. And then it's heartbreaking too. Not long after that, towards the final scene where they're on the yacht, and he does this whole speech of, this person that he loves and the son and blah blah blah, and you can see Alberto starting to step forward, and he's talking about Bruce, and he says, the son I never had, Bruce Wayne, and your heart just breaks for Alberto. It's like, you poor son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you cannot catch a break.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, again, great. Titus Welliver, I don't think we've mentioned him yet too, but his Falcone is, wow.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. But again, and I really appreciate that this movie's not afraid to have those quieter character scenes, and there's a lot of them throughout. And again, I thought a lot of that was going to go by the wayside just in order to pack more material into the movie, and it doesn't. You know, it knows how important those are, and it does that, which I think is awesome. My big question, and I don't know the answer yet because I have not seen the second part, is when I watched this the first time, I was surprised it ended at New Year's. Because the story goes a full year, so they only do, in this movie, they only do Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. That's 4 out of 12. So, yeah, we're only 1/3 of the way through. So I'm wondering, like, is the second half going to feel rushed? Like, because they have a lot more to get to in the second half in the same amount of time. They have twice as much that they're supposed to cover. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to go, because it wasn't even a complaint, but that was the biggest question I had coming out of the first one. Is I was like, oh, I thought this was going to go half. You know, it was going to take us to what? I guess it would have been St. Paddy's Day. I guess it would have taken us there. But the fact that it ends at New Year's, I was like, well, man, I hope they've got a good way to get us through so much material the second time. But I do think that only doing those first 4 holidays in this one allows you to do more of that character work, because a lot of it is so good. But even though the character work is there and there are these slower story or character scenes, there's still plenty of action that I really enjoyed. You know, the chase between Batman and Catwoman I thought was really cool. There was a big Batmobile chase, and then there was Batman fighting a triad of, I don't know if I'd call them ninjas because they weren't wearing the outfits, but at least martial artist gangsters.
That's not in the comic, is it?
Not that I recall.
No, I couldn't remember it either. But that was a pretty cool fight.
It was really cool, yeah.
It was really good, yeah.
I do wonder if maybe it was added because they were like, well, we still need more Batman action in
action
here.
beat.
Yeah.
It's a great fight.
Yeah, it's a great fight. And then when the Joker escapes, he really owns the final act of this movie, and he's great. I mean, Troy Baker, he is a great Joker. It's just funny because he just sounds exactly like Hamill. You just if you don't know, you might just go, oh, great, Hamill's back. But he's still
very strong shades of Mask of the Phantasm in the Joker scenes.
Yeah.
Just because it's Joker toying with the mob, wanting to know who the killer is. Which is Mask of the Phantasm. It's right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love the Joker in this. Again, I like his design. I like the performance. I like his dialogue. I like how he is the wild card. Like, there's already this huge mess of a mystery and murders happening in Gotham. Now you've got the wild card of the Joker getting involved and making it worse for everybody. You know, showing up at Falcone's and just decides, I'm going to gas half of Gotham because, I got a 50% shot of catching Holiday. Really good stuff. And then, the big finale of Batman and the Joker on the plane, I think, is awesome, too.
Mm-hmm. Just going back to what you were saying about they're only doing the 4 holidays in this one. It got me thinking, because I have only seen part 2 once. But I will say, when I watched it, I felt like it was longer. But I just quickly checked. It's only 2 minutes longer in runtime. So it's really not that much longer, but it felt like a bit of a longer watch. And I think that might be because so much happens in it. Yeah,
they've got to jump quicker. So, well, interesting. I'll probably watch it this weekend. And then I do love, because it's one of my favorite parts of the book, I love Thanksgiving with Solomon Grundy.
Yes, how the turkey leg's missing. I like that scene where, like, Selena goes to touch the turkey and Alfred slaps her, and then they both slaps her hand.
Slaps her ass.
Just like smacks her, backhands her across the room. No. And they both have a little chuckle, and they notice one of the legs is already missing anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite moments in the book is just Batman bringing that plate to Solomon Grundy, and I was glad that was something they they kept in the movie. Because
Have
it's
you been watching
awesome.
Stargirl?
Not the new season. No,
Okay, that's all right.
I need to. But it's not on HBO Max, so it went to CW only. So I just haven't watched it.
Okay. No, just curious. Yeah, anyway. When you watch it, you'll know why I asked.
Okay.
But, yeah, what was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought now. And a really loud plane just went by.
It's okay. We were talking about Solomon Grundy and the nice Thanksgiving moment, and
Nah, I've lost my train of thought.
that's good. I will say this too is I love Batman and Catwoman in this movie. I love how she's helping him, but every time she does, he's always just like, "What's your angle? What are you up to?" Because I like when she's the one who's like, "Yeah, torch the money," and he goes, "I owe you one." She goes, "You owe me $1.5 billion."
That was a moment too, actually, where with that sort of with Alberto, when you kind of know he can't survive.
Yeah,
because Batman lands on the yacht and Selena just goes, "Bruce," and
right,
he's like,
right.
Wayne's Batman. It's like, yeah, man, you're not seeing this movie out.
Yep. I was like, Selena, come on, you know better than this.
Because it is funny, they do kind of play that like they know but they don't know.
Yeah.
Thing, like it's like, do they know that they're Batman and Catwoman? Because they're dating.
Yeah, I wasn't clear until that moment.
Yeah.
Because you're right, like there's that conversation they have on the boat. You go, are they talking about that or not? It was really hard to tell. But I will say, I do think that something that is missing is seeing the Bruce Selena side of that relationship. Like we do see a lot of Batman and Catwoman, but Selena is mentioned by Alfred multiple times as that, he has plans with Selena or she's there for Thanksgiving or whatever. But you never see Bruce and Selena interact as themselves until they break up. And I do feel like that's a little bit of a miss too, is that there should have been some better setup of them trying to make it work and it not working, because that really is only implied at best.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, because it is, heavily implied. I mean, they are in, I would call, say, like a serious relationship. Like she's always mentioned, and he's always doing stuff with Selena. It kind of felt very like Bruce and Vicky from Batman '89. Like there's stuff going on there.
Yeah. I just feel like there should have been a moment where it's like, oh, Selena's unhappy because you were not here or whatever, but they never do that. It's just, we know she's around, and then all of a sudden she breaks up with him, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess it wasn't working out. So, yeah. So we got, again, good chunk at the beginning, all Halloween. And like I said, when they're getting ready for trick-or-treating, and you see the trick-or-treaters out in the street, and you're right, it's very Haddonfield, very Halloween. Some nice stuff with Gordon.
Love the scene with Halloween, how Bruce thinks it's ridiculous, like he doesn't want to put candy out. And, it's a ridiculous holiday, and Alfred turns around and he's like, yeah, dressing in scary costumes to strike fear. How paraphrase, like, how ridiculous.
Right.
And like Bruce just sort of turns around to say something smart ass back to him, and Alfred's gone. Mm-hmm. He does a Batman to Bruce.
Yeah.
And Bruce has hate it when he does that.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels like classic Alfred, Yeah. Very like Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I love that even that night, Halloween night, after all's gone down, Bruce is in the Batcave and there's a plate of Halloween cookies. Just say Happy Halloween. Alfred still always got his back. I love it.
Yeah. Trusty Alfred. I said I love that voice performance.
Yeah, he's great too. So, yeah. Good, strong Halloween vibes. Good, strong Christmas vibes. Even New Year's is really well done. Like, I love the plane flying through Gotham, and there's still, like, the remnants of Christmas and the big, Times Square New Year's celebration and everything. Really cool.
Yeah. It's, you get the Joker dropping the one swear word in in this one.
Oh, God, I think so. What did he...
The plane, he's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say they upped the ante with the swearing a little bit in the second half too.
Oh, do they? Yeah. Well, what's funny is the first half, is rated PG-13, and the second half is rated R.
Yeah, it's an M and MA here, so
Yeah.
there is a bit of a difference. I can't remember if the violence is more or not, but like I said, I've only seen it the once, but I know there is a bit more language in the second half.
Interesting, because I thought that was one of the things I liked about this one is they didn't really do that. Because remember in the New 52 ones they always had to throw in a random swear, and I'm always just like, it's just unnecessary. And I liked that this one didn't really do it. I guess I forgot about the Joker. I just don't think you have to, but I guess I'll be on the lookout in the second half.
Oh, you won't miss it, trust me.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think what else.
And then, and where they leave it is the death of Alberto. And again, they're like, oh, yeah, he's going to be picking up pieces for a month. So it's definitely not him. And there's also a really great character moment where Batman is like, I thought he was the killer. He wasn't. Now he's dead. I failed him. Like, I need to be better. I'm not a good enough Batman because I should have been there to save him, but instead...
Yeah, essentially, I came to like arrest him, essentially, but I realized I was actually there to save him, and I couldn't.
Yeah. Like, I thought that was really cool, too. There was also a nice moment at the end where Harvey is like, wait a minute. We started wanting to bring down Falcone, and now we're talking about how do we protect him?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's good. But that's sort of where they leave it is like, oh, if it's not Alberto, then who is it? And I think that's the note they go out on, more or less.
Yeah, it is a nice ending shot to how it's sort of just like Batman turns out of the alley and the camera sort of just moves up over his head to the skyline of Gotham, and then that's credits.
Yeah.
I'm jumping right to the end here. Did you watch the after credits scene?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because the first time, 2 times actually, that I watched this, I forgot that they do after credit scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed the introduction to Poison Ivy.
Yeah. I had forgotten about it, honestly.
Yeah, because it's not a spoiler, but obviously in the second half, Bruce is under the control of Ivy. And yeah, it was only last night when I rewatched it for this, I'm like, oh, I need to check and see if there's an after credits for this one. And then sure enough, and Jess was in the room at the time, she's like, oh, that makes more sense. I'm like, yeah, it does. Because I just completely forgotten.
Oh, okay. Well, I also I'm curious about that too, because so this one ends on New Year's Day, and then the after credit scene is Alberto's funeral and Bruce meeting Poison Ivy. But there's still Valentine's Day, and I thought Poison Ivy was St. Patrick's Day.
I can't remember because I've only seen it the once.
Well, okay, I could be wrong and
there is a lot to take in that second movie.
Yeah, because now that I'm thinking of it and talking out loud, I feel like Bruce is under Ivy's spell during Valentine's Day, and that's why he ends up standing up Selena or something. And then it all comes to a head on St. Patrick's Day, which is why it's very Poison Ivy heavy for St. Patrick's.
Pretty sure that he's under her control for quite some time.
Yeah, so maybe that's it. Okay. Because, I was like, wait, are we jumping over Valentine's? But now that I'm remembering, I'm kind of shaking loose the cobwebs. I'm like, wait, no. I think that he is through Valentine's Day, so never mind. Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, for everybody listening, yes, there's an after credit scene, so... Don't forget.
No.
Well, all right.
And there is an after credits in part 2 as well, and I'm really curious to see where that leads to.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
World building.
All right. Well, I'll just ask you this about part 2 because I haven't watched it yet. Is there a lot more Halloween in part 2, or is it there's too much else?
Oh, dude, I'm trying to remember. I think the back half again is a bit Halloween-y because it begins and ends on Halloween, but the second half is chock-a-block full of all the other holidays pretty much. Yeah,
that makes sense. That's what I figured. Because we're watching it for Scare-a-thon, and I do, I'm all in the seasonal viewing, and I want more Batman Halloween. And I feel like the first half I can watch, at Halloween and feel pretty good about it, even though obviously they go into others. It's kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas. It sort of bridges the holidays. So
yeah.
Curious.
You can watch half of it in October,
Right.
then
right.
watch a little bit in November, and then watch the last quarter in December.
There you go.
That's how you can do it.
Yep. All right. Anything else that you wanted to mention before we move on?
I think so. I feel like we've gone through it pretty quickly, but I think we've also all touched on the major beats of it.
I know, me too. Like, and I did wonder that going into this is like, how much is there to talk about? Because we know the story from the book. It's a really good movie, but it's not like we have to talk about, oh my God, and that, and then Johnny Vitti died. Like, of course he did. That's the whole point of the movie.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, but I think that, overall it's really good. We mentioned really briefly the Batmobile. I did like the Batmobile. It reminded me of the Batmobile from the new Batman Adventures.
Yeah. Yep.
From that fourth season of Batman the Animated Series.
Which
It
is
reminded
one
me
of
of
the
that.
stylistic choices I actually like from that fourth season. Not that I prefer it over the original Batmobile, but it's a cool design. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I thought it was interesting. It was kind of like that. It's a little more minimalist, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I honestly, I can't speak enough to how much I really dig the Batman design for this movie.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's so cool. Like just the black and grey, and it's very stylized, but also so much more simple than the new 52 one we had with the. It was just so busy, whereas I really like this. It's so good.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think part of the reason I like this so much is I just feel like it's been a long time since I've seen a unabashedly Batman movie. Like even I'm trying to think of the last animated ones that we've gotten. Like the last truly like unabashed Batman movie I want to say was Hush, maybe?
I think it was Hush, yeah. Because I mean, I know the one from this year was Batman: Soul of the Dragon,
and that's
Soul,
not Batman-y at all.
It's not. No, not really. Like it's a good movie, but it's not Batman-y. Like Batman's on the title to sell it, essentially.
Yeah, it's not very Batman-y. So
that's
what I was like,
team-up movie.
Yeah, so it's just I think I was just so happy to be in like completely immersed in Batman's world, Gotham City, and again, I love this Gotham. I think it's beautiful. It's so amazingly designed. It's great. The Batcave, the Batmobile. I just love that it was truly a Batman movie all in. And I want to say Hush was the last one, and that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
Because I'm a Batman fan. I don't know if you've heard this or not.
Batman. Yeah, it does ring a bell.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, all right, well, why don't we give some closing thoughts and a letter grade for The Long Halloween Part 1?
Basically everything we've said. Great Batman movie. Love the new direction. Absolutely love the voice cast. If you really liked this one, I can't see why you won't like the second one. It's literally more of the same. But no, it's a really solid, really enjoyable Batman movie. And like you said, it's been a while since we've had that. So just that alone goes a long way. But I'd probably give this a solid A.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. It is a really good Batman movie. I mean, it's already coming from a great story, but I think that they took that great story and tweaked it just enough without changing the core of what it is. Really had a great time with it. Love the holidays, love the animation, love the mystery, love Batman, all good things. Just don't be afraid to pump up the jams and give me some music in there. That's my only big thing. But other than that, it's really terrific, and I was really happy with it. And that's good because The Long Halloween is one of those seminal Batman stories. So, don't mess it up. And I don't think they did. I think they did an amazing job with it. And this movie can stand up there with the graphic novel very proudly. It's just as good. So I am going to dock it for the music. I'm going to go A-.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. So an A and an A- for The Long Halloween. Still absolutely worth your money. Jamie Drewley, absolutely worth your money. We should just send it to him. To hell with it. I should just mail it.
Yeah. I was thinking of just popping it on a USB and sending
or
it to
you
him.
could do that.
Yeah.
Or for I send him part 1, you send him part 2. And then he has no excuse. But anyway, We really loved it. It is an A and an A-, so check that out. And yeah, we will get to part 2. Probably not in the next episode. We'll probably take, step away and then come back to it. I will probably watch
I honestly
part
think
2.
that should be for the Halloween episode this year.
Oh, wow. I mean, maybe, but that's a ways
it's a while
away.
away, but we need to do something for Halloween.
That's true. It's a good point. I'll think about it, but I could be convinced. But I mean, the natives were getting restless waiting for this one, so.
Well, you just reviewed Superman the other day, and that came out a year ago.
That was a year old. That's true.
And there's a few to do in between there too.
Right.
Have we even done Soul of the Dragon on here yet?
We have not.
No, I didn't think so.
We have not. That's another one we will have to get to. But I really didn't want to because I didn't really like it.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't my thing.
Justice Society World War II is pretty good.
I heard. And that one I just keep waiting for it to go on sale.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, cool. Well, Long Halloween Part 1. There you go. We will get to Part 2. Maybe for Halloween. If Brendan can talk me into it, we'll see.
Well, I'm easy to do what you want to do, but I just thought, kind of makes sense.
You're not wrong. Cool. And we would bookend spooky season, right?
Exactly.
This is the kickoff of spooky
there.
season. And yeah, I like that, I like the organization. Cool. Well, going to mull that over. Going to sleep on that. But we're not going to say goodbye just yet because we got to check in with you fine feathered finks as we crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Derek. What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. Says all, Master Wayne.
Now, Brendan, this first email I have been sitting on for 2 months.
So it'd be nice and warm then.
Yeah, it does. It's a little smelly, but it's about to hatch. Because it was for you, and it was like every time you were on, we didn't get to it, or I think when we did this, did we even answer emails for the Suicide Squad? I don't think we did. So yeah, so this one has been sitting here. This poor listener is like, are they ever going to answer my question? Well, guess what? Your day has come. This is from listener Marshall Naylor, and you'll see why I've been saving it.
Okay.
It says, "Hey, Bat Family, I haven't written in for a while, but my question is for Brendan.
I see why you saved it.
There you have it. Until pretty recently, I had never had an urge to watch a James Bond movie, but Please Rewind's Casino Royale episode came out, and I gave in. So far, I've seen Dr. No, which I thought was okay, Casino Royale, which was great, and Quantum of Writing Strikes, which wasn't bad, but needed less writing strikes. I plan on watching the rest of the Craig Bond movies, and ideally someday watching No Time to Die within the next 10 years. But this is what we get for an American trying to make a Bond film. My favorite character so far is Felix because Jeffrey Wright, and my favorite Bond song is Another Way to Die because Jack effing White and Alicia Keys. In other words,
it's a brave choice. It's not usually well liked, that one. I dig it, but yeah, it doesn't normally rank very high.
But he says, in other words, where do I start? Thanks, Marshall Naylor. So I guess he's looking for some Bond viewing recommendations.
I'll give you 3 options. GoldenEye, GoldenEye, and GoldenEye.
Good. That is one that
Honestly,
I like.
It's amazing. It was my first Bond. Because of the age I am and everything, that was what got me into the franchise. So, and it still holds up. It's a tremendous Bond film. Yeah, that and Casino Royale are always pretty much tied for my favorite of the series. But I mean, I have a favorite for each actor. Like you've seen Dr. No, that's my favorite Connery. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, obviously, is the George Lazenby one. It's very different, but it's quite good. It's had a really big resurgence in the last sort of 5 to 10 years.
I feel like that's the Halloween 3 of the Bond franchise.
Definitely is.
It got no respect when it was released, and now, like many, many, many years later, people go, actually, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think Chris Nolan coming out and saying that's his favorite Bond film didn't hurt either. I'm on the fence with it, which is funny because it's the Aussie Bond, but it's good, but I don't love it as much as other people do. Roger Moore, Live and Let Die, and For Your Eyes Only are my favourites. I know everyone sort of goes to The Spy Who Loved Me for him, but yeah, those two are my favourite. License to Kill for Timothy Dalton, and yeah, GoldenEye is a really, really solid Bond film. Tomorrow Never Dies is one of my most revisited ones, just because to me it's kind of the Bond film that it ticks all the boxes, and it's just a fun adventure that you can put on. It's kind of, I don't want to say a popcorn flick, but it really is just like a cool, fun ride. And again, it's Pierce Brosnan, just looking awesome and giving it all as Bond. So yeah, but if you're looking for one to just, if you just want to watch a Bond film that you haven't seen before, and my recommendation is definitely GoldenEye.
I think it's a good recommendation. That is one that I like a lot. I haven't watched in a long time, but I do remember really liking that one.
Yeah, it's great.
Sweet. All right, next email here is from Todd Johnson. He starts by saying, Andy, I leave it up to you whether you want to share this on the podcast or not. So I'm going to share it, Todd. Just throwing caution to the wind. He says, first of all, I love your podcast, and I'm always excited when the new episode drops. You guys rock. But this is in regards to Andy sharing about his bisexuality. When I heard the news of Tim Drake coming out as bisexual, I rolled my eyes and I said, whatever. I truly did not care, and I thought of it as a kind of virtue signaling to a certain segment of the population. I'm 50, and I consider myself an open-minded guy who's just grown tired of everyone proclaiming who they are. It always felt like it was attention-getting. I'm not anti-anything, I just didn't care. After I heard your views on the Tim Drake reveal, you woke me up. You see, my daughter revealed to me a while ago that she's bisexual. I responded the same way to her as I did to Tim Drake. I rolled my eyes, I smiled, I told her I didn't care, be what you want. It surprised me that our relationship grew distant after this event. I thought she was being dramatic for no reason. I told her I didn't care. What you made me realize was that it's not that she doesn't want me to care or be okay with it. She wants me to care for her and who she is, and instead I shrugged it off. I truly don't care that she's bisexual, but I failed to show her that I truly care for her. I'm working now to regain her trust. Thank you, Andy, for opening my eyes and making me realize that not caring doesn't mean caring. Todd Johnson. All right, Todd. Wow. I mean, thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad that, that conversation helped you in what was going on with your life and your daughter and your relationship. And yeah, it's such a weird thing where, I shared that I did this on the podcast, and I had someone go, you don't have to do that. You don't owe that to anybody. It's none of their business. And I get that. I get that perspective of like, yeah, it's nobody's business. You don't owe anyone anything, right? But I do think that there's something to be said for like just putting it out there and letting people show you that they care. And so, anyway, yeah, I mean, I am wishing you and your daughter nothing but the best. And it's great that it didn't change the way you saw her. But I think that it's more about her wanting her father to just embrace who she is and all parts of her. So instead of shrugging away that part, going, that doesn't matter, it matters to her. And it matters to her enough that she shared it with you, which means it should also matter to you. And I think that that's something you've come to realize, and I'm really glad I could help, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know what I can really add. I mean, I said to a social media friend the other day, his partner is trans, and he was having a bit of a rant about how someone had verbally abused him on the street and everything. And my stance with all of, I say all of this stuff now, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm at the point where I'll be honest, and I am honest about it with anyone whenever it comes up now. I don't fully understand everyone's choices, or not even choices of, who they are. I don't fully grasp it all, but where I stand is, no matter what you choose or who you are, I'll support you. Like, you've got my support.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel it's my job to understand but it's my job to just be there and say, hey, that's cool, that's who you are. You do you, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I think that's totally fair. And it's like, of course, right? Like what's normal for you and what you understand about yourself, not everyone will understand, and vice versa, right? You don't understand I'll never understand the experience of being you and eating Vegemite. Like, what the hell? Who does this? But you're right. It's not about that. It's also, regardless of whether I understand where you're coming from or I know that same feeling, and sometimes I will and sometimes I won't, but if I love you and I care, I still want to support you and I want you to be who you are, whatever that means, so you can be happy in your life, right? So, no, I totally understand that too, because I feel the same way about our trans brothers and sisters and non-binary folks. Is I don't understand what it's like to be a trans person. I don't. But the least I can do is support you and make the world a better place for you to be who you are.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'm
so you can be
the same
safe and you can be comfortable. Like that's, you know, like. So
I'm sort of echoing what Jamie was saying. I think it was the last episode where, like with all the letters, like I honestly, I completely lost track because it just felt like for a while there was always another one added, and that's where I did get to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, look, whatever people choose to be now, that's entirely fine. And I don't want to say the words I don't care, but you know what I mean. Like it doesn't impact me in any way because it's their life, it's not mine. So all I want is for people to be happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, sorry we keep coming back to this, but I mean, I guess it just goes to,
it's an important conversation.
It is. And I want the show to be a safe place for everyone. And I want everyone who listens to know that whoever you are or where you're from, you know, you're part of the family. So it is important, especially in the world today. But I also will say I continue to be blown away and humbled by the response to that episode. And that's why, you know, when someone said to me, you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to explain yourself. It's nobody's business but yours. But by coming out and saying what I said, the fact that it did resonate with so many people, that's why you do it, right? That's why it is important. Of course, I don't have to, but by doing it, if it helped anyone listening, then it was worth it.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that. We're back to DC. Okay. So this is from our old pal Ron Messbarger. He says, "Hey, Pumpkin Spice Bros and the Cuddly Koala."
I thought you were about to say something else then.
What?
He just started with the "k," and I'm like, oh god, we're gonna go again, are we?
Yeah, that too. That's just assumed at this point.
Sure is.
So he goes, thinking about the Suicide Squad, where in the greater DCEU timeline do you think that this takes place? I thought they missed out on a chance for a funny ending with having Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the Flash show up only to find that the squad had taken care of it. Have a great week and PSL for life. Ron, yes, PSL for life. It is pumpkin season, and I gotta tell you, Jamie's not here. I've also fallen in love with the pumpkin cream cold brew. It's so good. I might like it as much as the PSL. I don't know, man. It's a wonderful problem to have, but I'm just enjoying this pumpkin season. So, and I know Jamie is too. And yeah, Brendan's just missing out.
I understand the sexuality thing more than I do the pumpkin fascination, I'll be completely honest. Well,
we love our pumpkins. Just pretend all our pumpkins taste like Vegemite, and you'd be like, yeah, I get it. Anyway, so first of all, I love your idea for the ending. If the Justice League shows up and they're like, "Oh, you got it,"
awesome, that
would really have been amazing. And now I'm kind of mad that didn't happen. But as for a timeline, I'll tell you, I haven't really thought about it. But Brendan, any thoughts?
Just to me, all I really thought of is it takes place after the first one, like. For the most part, I just sort of always assumed that movies take place after the one before them.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, Wonder Woman 84 is, an exception because 84 was in the title. But yeah, like, I just assumed it's kind of after Justice League, after Shazam. Like, yeah, it's just the next... I guess it would be after Birds of Prey, because that's sort of the last DC movie we got that wasn't Wonder Woman 84. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I would say it takes place after Justice League. It doesn't have to, but I think it would, because they talk about Superman. I mean, it's just the one line, but they talk about him in the present tense, like, whereas the first movie was very deliberate about, oh, Superman's dead during this movie. Where in this one, when they do mention it, it seems like Superman might be back. So this could be in the post-Justice League world.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree.
I think it's smart enough that they leave it vague enough that they're, it could really fit wherever you want, which is, I think, their intent, because they don't want it to be tied right in. But I agree with you. It's probably after Birds of Prey, where Harley gets caught again, backed up to her old tricks. All right, next message is from Paul Shanley. It says, hey guys, here's a quick one. Frank Miller famously wrote The Dark Knight Returns after realizing he was getting older than Batman was in the comics. With having a middle-aged Batman the last few years, and then Pattinson's younger Batman and Keaton's older Batman on their way, how old is your preferred take on Batman? Personally, I think about 40 is right. A guy who's a veteran but still in his prime and can still have a Robin or 3. Cheers, Paul. Nice, Paul. Good question. Brendan, how old do you think Batman is?
I always sort of default to late 30s, early 40s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with that. I feel like he's 30 when he meets Dick Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in the present, I feel like, he's about 40. That I agree with you, Paul. 40 feels like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
All right, next one is from Cam, also goes as my neighbor burrito. He says, greetings to my absolute favorite podcasters. I want to start by saying how great it is to hear Jamie again. I promised that I'd keep my email short and not so serious, so if WB insisted that you provide some voice acting and they wouldn't take no for an answer, who would you like to play? Thanks again for everything you guys do. It always makes my day when I see a new episode appear. All the best, Cam. Thank you, Cam. And a fun question. So you're going to do voice acting for a DC character, Brendan. Who are you going to play?
Well, I mean, I'm terrible at accents, so it pretty much just leaves me Captain Boomerang.
yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it's the obvious answer, but I can't, hell, if I could pull off accents and stuff, like, I'd love to be Batman. I'd love to be Robin. I won't take the Tim Drake version away from you, but I'd love to be Dick Grayson. Like Robin Nightwing, I'd love that. But yeah, if I'm being realistic, it's pretty much just Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. I guess I would... I would take any of the three you just said. I'd take Batman, I would take Dick Grayson, Nightwing, or I would take Tim Drake. Those are the first ones. Not interesting answers, but fun answers. Couple years ago, our old pal Rob Myers over at Everyone Loves the Drake, he did a whole audio drama of A Lonely Place of Living, and he asked me to play Dick Grayson, and it was like the role of a lifetime. I was so honored to play Dick Grayson in that.
I was thinking about that actually while we were talking about this question.
So I don't know. I think
I reckon
definitely
you could pull off a Riddler.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, if we're going villain, obviously the Joker is the role, right? It would be so fun. But yeah,
It's
I
the
think
Grail. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Riddler as well. I'd have a lot of fun with the Riddler. Here's a question. I'm going to throw it back out to the listeners. Whose voices do you think we could provide? You listen to our voices all the time talking about this stuff. Who do you think we could play? I'd be curious. Cast me, Brendan, and
everyone
Jamie.
Saying Captain Boomerang.
Well. Anyway. Good question, Cam. Next message is from Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey guys, I love the podcast as always. I hope you're doing well. Sometimes while I'm driving, I'll spot a car and go, that would make a good Batmobile. So what car, past or present, do you think would make a good Batmobile? Thanks again, Tom Fallows." So
We need Jamie.
a real car. Yeah, we do need Jamie.
I am not the right person to answer this question.
I know. I'll tell you, it's not a Toyota Camry. It's not that.
No. Even though that was my first car, funnily enough. It was
Oh, really?
An 88 Toyota Camry, yep.
I mean,
Toyota Celica's, on the other hand. Like, I remember there being one in the 90s that was kind of Batmobile-esque.
I mean, I will tell you about, oh God, now it's been like, I think 14 years. Holy shit, 14 years ago. The car that I bought when I moved to California was a Mitsubishi Mirage. It was like a 2007 Mitsubishi Mirage, black. And it was like cool and sleek and sporty, and it was my Batmobile. So yeah, it was the car I owned that actually looked like it could be a Batmobile. It just needed some fins in the back. So I'm going to say that because as far as I was concerned, when I owned that car, it was a Batmobile. I loved that car. It was so fun. I missed that car.
What year was it?
2007?
So was it that model car?
I think so. Like, I bought it in 2007, so I bought either an 07 or an 06. But let me look. If I just Google
I'm
image.
just Googling Mitsubishi Mirage, and they look like they're a little hatchback thing.
Oh, it was a Mitsubishi Eclipse, I think. My bad.
Okay, 'cause,
Eclipse.
yeah, Mirage is quite small.
Yeah, Mirage is. I'm sorry. The Mirage was like the 4-door. But the 2007 Mitsubishi Eclipse, yes. My bad. I misspoke. Yeah, I liked that car.
I can see that. Was it black?
Yeah, it was black. I'll also say, like a Corvette. You know, I think a Corvette would make a great Batmobile.
Yeah.
All right, next email is from Imad Alaguz. It says, "Hey guys, I want to share with you something that I did. I decided to watch The Suicide Squad with my kids, who are 10 and 11, so I edited out all the profanity, nudity, and gory stuff, and to my surprise, it was only about 20 minutes, and it still ended up with nearly 2 hours of good stuff. The kids loved it, and I really enjoyed the PG-13 cut of the movie. I don't think the movie needed to be R-rated, and they lost a lot of audience because of this. I love listening to you guys, Imad." Thanks, Imad. Interesting.
I would not have the patience to do that.
I know I respect
lot
your
of work.
commitment. Absolutely.
There's a lot of F-bombs in that movie.
That's a pain, but good job. Good on you, man. I'll say when The Lone Ranger came out, which you know I love, there was a little group of us at Disney. We all worked together and we all loved The Lone Ranger. And one of those guys, he loved it so much he wanted to show it to his kid nephew, who was like really young, like 5, you know. And The Lone Ranger was PG-13, but there's a lot of violence, and I guess he did cut just a little bit out. So he did the same thing. He edited a more kid-friendly version of that movie for his nephew, and his nephew loved it too.
Talented people.
Yeah, I mean, I respect it. That's great. So Imad, PG-13 cut of The Suicide Squad. I mean, we've talked about it in the past. I agree with the overall sentiment, is I don't think any of these movies need to be rated R, but...
No.
Yeah. All right, we got one last one. This one is from Samuel Sadowski. It says, "Hey guys, thanks for the excellent show. I have 3 unrelated points to share with the Bat family. Number 1, I'm uncomfortable with how many people on Titans know Batman's secret identity. It ain't natural." Okay, valid point. I didn't think about it, but it's a very good point. He says, number 2, if I were in charge of Warner Brothers, I'd say, go make Batman vs. Deathstroke, then make a Batman-Superman team-up starring Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, then make Man of Steel 2, and then report back to me. Okay?
Yep, I agree with that.
Yep. I would like all those things. And then he said, and then number 3, this is really random, but I appreciate it. He said, Andy riffing on Mrs. Taft on the Jaws 2 episode of Real Fans was hysterical. So I don't think that's funny. Oh, okay. Is it also, you mentioned that during the 70s, key parties would have surely happened on Amity Island, and you feel around in the bowl for the pink kitty keys because those probably belonged to Mrs. Taft. Classic. Thanks for the shows, Bat Sam from Boston. Thanks, Bat Sam. Yeah, I forgot about the Jaws 2 episode. That was a fun one. And yeah, Mrs. Taft, man, she's a little freaky, and I'm down. Do you know? You probably don't even know who that is because you're just.
I haven't seen Jaws 2, no.
Jaws 2 is pretty good. Pretty good. All right, that's it for the mailbox. Look at that. Well done. So for those of you listening, if you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But there you have it. Batman the Long Halloween, some emails, and we are going to call it a night. So, Brendan, glad we made this work.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've
Yeah.
got the rest of my Saturday ahead of me now. It's just after 10 a.m. in the morning.
Very nice. Not too late.
No.
Enjoy the rest of your day. That's great. Well, tell our friends where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Loey007. Same for Instagram, and yeah, I'm in the Real Fans group. You know where to find me.
Yep. If you don't know by now, you don't care.
No.
Anyway, I already told you where to find me, but thank you guys as always for joining us. Thank you for downloading the show, and happy spooky season. Happy kickoff to spooky season. Yay, it feels so good. Thanks for listening. Please do subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Again, if you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But that'll do it. On behalf of Brendan, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
Relax, lollipop. Police issue.
Where's my wife?
She's just where I left her. Last minute shopping. Spoiler alert. It sucks.